alive, beneficent, and merciful. I'd like to welcome you all to the War Christ lecture and dialogue. Today, what we're going to be discussing is the judgment. When I say judgment, what I am saying is we're going to discuss the current time of the judgment. And when I say judgment in the current time of the judgment, I'm speaking of Armageddon. Now, for I guess about the last 5 years, I've been teaching, by way of reminder, the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as given through Master Farad Muhammad. Excuse me. Now, it was brought to my attention last week that maybe, by way of suggestion, that maybe I should be teaching on the current times, you know, the judgment, you know, what's going on today. And after very little thought about the suggestion, I thought it was pertinent. I thought that was relevant. I thought that was a good reminder, good pulling up the coattail. Of course, I've been teaching on the judgment, the time of the judgment, what to expect in the judgment, but I never really got into today's current political, economic, social environment too much. I really don't get into that too much. And so when I was given this reminder, I thought about it. After I talked to the individual, I thought about it, and I looked at the current time. I said, yeah, it is time for me to talk about this. So, in keeping with that, we're going to get into the judgment. Now, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us signs to look for in the upcoming years concerning the fall of America. He taught this for over 40 years concerning the fall and judgment of America, and actually published a book with the same title. So, if we look at current events today, if we look at the economic situation in America, according to various financial sites such as Shadow Stats, the government is publishing figures concerning unemployment in and around 6 to 7%. However, when you dig deeper into the statistics and numbers, other economists, non-governmental economists, put the number near 30 to 37% unemployment. This situation with unemployment is not only happening in America, it's taking place all through Europe, most notably Greece, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Britain. The unemployment rates in those countries are even higher. Now, yet, when we look at the financial reports from Wall Street, we see that the stock market, you know, has never done better. The stock market is reaching all new highs, and the government or the media is putting it out there that, you know, because the stock market is used as a gauge as to the financial health of the nation. But if you look at what they're reporting with the stock market, and you look at what they report, you look at what's on the ground as far as unemployment, as far as rising food and gas prices, there's a disparity. Now, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a warning, or gave us a sign to look for in the judgment. And he told us that right before the end, America was going to rally. Now, when you are dealing with messengers of God and their sayings and admonitions, a lot of times when we think we see something that we were warned about from a messenger or prophet of God, We run a touchdown with it. Oh, this is it. This is the end. This is the sign. And then time gets prolonged, and then we are forced to recognize, well, I don't think this is the sign. This must not be the end. So, you may say, well, Mr. Muhammad, how do you know that this is a sign of the final rally of America before the end? How do you know this is it? Well, first of all, to address that question, let me read to you the passage concerning America's final rally before the end that was given in the book Fall of America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If you turn to chapter 49 of the Fall of America, the title of this chapter is called The Lull Before the Storm. And I read in pertinent part, quote, "He made the people alive. He made the people rejoice for a time with a show of great prosperity, and at the height of their great prosperity, suddenly he destroyed them. This is the merciful law that Allah has put in nature. Allah God lets a dying person rally before the end. America is going to do the same. America will rally, and the people will think that she is going to have a great future, and then the end will come in that kind of time. America's end will not come while she is going around with her head hanging down, with heart aching and failing because of the things that are coming on her nation. No, she will be made to enjoy good times. The stock market going up and lots of shares being sold. This makes any man think that everything is all right, but this is only the lull before the storm. And the Bible warns America what happened before her. Ancient Babylon enjoyed a fulfilling position at her time, but King Darius came against her at the time of her full enjoyment of wealth, drunkenness, and her laughing at the slaves that she had made of Israel. King Darius came with his army and overcame the sleeping guards who were sleeping over the security of their life. The Bible prophesied that the enemy will say, "Come, let us go up and destroy her, whose city is not fenced in." And they will come from afar. They may come at noonday, or they may come at the rising in the morning or in the afternoon. But nevertheless, they will come at a time that you thought not. After the war, quote, "And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate." Bible, Daniel chapter 9, verse 26 through 27. I want you to know that which will be poured means is the deprivation of you, America, of your ever getting back into power again to attack the nations of the earth. So we see here in chapter 49 of Fall of America, the messenger speaks of, he gives an example of a principle in nature that before a creature or man dies, Allah often allows that creature to rally at the end. And he said the same thing is going to be done for America. And he said that when this rally takes place, that America, as the last sentence I read, that America will be deprived from getting back into power to attack the nations of the earth. Now, let's get back to the situation here now. How do we know that this is the rally? Because the stock market went up in the 80s after the messengers wrote this, and you had Black Monday, I think it was in 87. Stock market rose and it crashed. America's still here. You had the dot-com in the early 2000s, when the internet was booming. Stock market went up, then it deflated with the internet coming. They call it the dot-com bubble. Okay, so how do we know that this current time at the stock market, how do we know that this is the final rally? Well, let's look at the nature of this rally. The power, wealth, prestige, and might of a nation is that nation's currency. Now, The Dow Jones today is probably at 15 or 16,000. This is uncharted territories. The stock market is out there. Yet, you have massive unemployment in America. You have rising food and gas prices. But the stock market's up there. What's causing the stock market to rally? Well, for the past few years, the Federal Reserve Bank has been printing billions of dollars every month, supplementing the spending power of the government. What am I saying? It's called the quantitative easing. Basically, what's been going on, the Federal Reserve Bank has been printing, at the start, $75 billion a month to keep this government going. 75 billion, I think it's down to about 50 billion. But in any regard, this country and the power of the authority economically of the government and what's supporting the stock market is the Federal Reserve printing, let's just call it $50 billion a month from nowhere. So what happens when you print $50 billion? Well, somebody has to receive that $50 billion. Well, who gets that $50 billion? It's not you and me. I know it's not me. So who's getting that $50 billion a month from the Federal Reserve? Well, the people that's getting the $50 billion are banks, hedge funds, and people closely aligned with the Federal Reserve Bank. And when they receive money from the Federal Reserve Bank, what takes place is that once you get a loan from the bank charges you interest. Well, the Federal Reserve Bank is giving money away at near 0% interest. They're not charging, basically, it's like 1/10 of 1%. It's basically free money. So what's taking place? Well, companies such as GM, IBM, name any big blue chip company, what they're doing, they're getting this money at basically near 0 prices from the federal government. They're taking this money, they're putting it in the stock market. How? What they're doing, they're taking this free money they just print out thin air, and they're going into the stock market, buying their company shares from the stock market. Let's give an example. Let's say that this is General Motors. General Motors gets 20, crude example. General Motors gets $5 billion. They take $5 billion, so to speak, they go in the stock market, they buy $5 billion worth of stock. Okay, so that makes their stock more scarce on Wall Street. Their stock value go up because there's less available. Okay, and so General Motors is buying their own stock. But they're buying their own stock with money that they just printed out of thin air. So it's an illusion. It appears that the stock prices for these companies are going up, but it has nothing to do with the strength of the company. It has nothing to do with how much earnings the company is making. Okay? Their stock price is going up purely because they can get the money very, very cheap. So, if you take this one company, for instance, General Motors, and multiply by 10,000, the stock market appears to be rising. It appears to have a rally. Okay? For this, when you have a person whose heart has stopped, and you're in an emergency room, generally what the doctors will do, if your heart stopped, they would take this medical device and put it on your chest to revive you. They'll send an electrical current through you.
Defibrillator.
Defibrillator? I can't pronounce it. That's why I said a medical device. To restart your heart. Okay? Or they may give you some kind of drug to kickstart everything. Okay, so the current situation, I'm not going to stay on this topic too long. I hope I didn't get too technical with this.
Not with me.
Okay, but the situation is, so the current gauge of financial strength and wealth of this country, the Wall Street number, is based on money that never existed before that they just injected into the system. But this was not taking place in 1929, in 1987, in 2000. The rallies then were based on money coming in from investors or the strength of the company, and that's how the stock price rose. But today, the strength of the stock market, and quite frankly, the military power of this nation, is based on money that they're just printing out of thin air. So, what will happen if they stop printing money? Well, they stop printing money, the stock market is going to crash. Why? Because these companies are no longer have the capital to keep going into the market buying stock. Once they stop buying stock and you have no other buyers up, that the stock starts to plummet and fall. So we can see that the current situation in America, the financial strength and health of America today, is being upheld by them printing money. What else is taking place? This is the final point on this rally situation. Well, the American dollar is the world reserve currency, which means it's called the petrodollar. I'm kind of rushing through this stuff. Basically, if you are Germany and you want to buy some oil, and you want to buy from the Saudi Arabia, okay, you can't take the German mark or the German Deutschmark and go buy that oil. You have to take your German mark or your country's currency, exchange it for an American dollar, take that American dollar, go to Saudi Arabia and purchase your oil. So that means that if you want to buy oil, you must have American dollars. What else does that mean? Well, if you must have American dollars and you are a country, you need oil for food and energy and defense, that means you have to keep a reserve of American dollars in your country's banks. You got to hold on to this dollar. All the countries of the world, all the industrial nations of the world have to hold American dollars in order to conduct business. This gives America unequal and unparalleled power over the nations of the earth. But what's taking place now? America is just printing money every month. So that means that the money that these countries are holding is becoming less and less valuable, meaning it's going to take more and more dollars to purchase the same amount of oil that you could purchase yesterday. So the buying power or strength of the dollar is falling. So, what does this mean? What else does America do with the dollar? How does America conquer and influence other countries? There's two ways America can do it. One way that America conquers and influences another country is through the military might. The second way that America influences or determines policies of a country is through the dollar, political corruption. Example, the country of Uganda passed some anti-homosexual laws. America didn't like that. Uganda receives, don't quote me on this, approximately $400 million of American aid every year. So what did Barack Obama tell the president of Uganda? If you don't reverse course, if you don't change that law concerning the jailing and killing homosexuals, we are not going to give you the $400 million. The initial response from Uganda was that this is our country. We can do, you can't tell us what to do. A few months later, actually last month, the president saved face. He didn't back down, but the Ugandan Supreme Court said that the law was illegal. It wasn't ratified. It came up with some technical excuse not to enforce that law. So the way that America changed policy and law in Uganda was through that money. So you don't have enough men, enough military munition or artillery to police the whole world. You can't. So Barack Obama or America didn't have to send an army, the Marine Corps, to Uganda and tell them what to do. Only thing he had to do was make a phone call.